Breaking news now. We have brand new numbers on what is going on at airports across America. And so we get these updates every little bit. I want to bring you this one. Due to the shutdown, the Transportation Department has slashed the number of flights by 4% across 40 of the busiest airports. And we know that they will feather in more and more percentages up to whatever number they need to get to almost slow everything down. So we're at 4% of the top 40 busiest airports. And that is making a difference already, but not if you're working without a paycheck. Travelers are seeing more and more disruptions as the government shutdown stretches on for this record-breaking 41st day. The latest numbers from FlightWare.com, more than 3,400 flights delayed today already, 1,700 canceled. So that's an uptick from just the beginning of this hour. Because there is already a snowball effect when that happens, we expect to see those numbers rise quickly now and throughout the day. We'll keep you posted. Well, we are not sure exactly why they waited so long, but it appears 8 senators chose suffering Americans over their own political futures. The 8 Democrats bucked their own party leaders to advance a new bill to fund the government, step 1 in reopening. And they are facing punishment now by members of the Democrat Party. Politico's top headline this morning calls it a dim civil war. Quote, the Senate moved forward with a procedural vote that should mean this record-breaking crisis is finally coming to an end. What replaces it is the eruption of an ugly Democrat civil war as the party rips itself to shreds for dealing across the aisle. End of quote. Senator Bernie Sanders.
8 Democrats voted with the Republicans to allow them to go forward on this continuing resolution. And to my mind, this was a very, very bad vote.
Liberal California Congressman Ro Khanna went scorched earth on leadership. He posted this: Senator Schumer is no longer effective and should be replaced. California Governor Gavin Newsom called the vote pathetic and said that America deserves better. Yeah, they just simply want people to starve. Let that sink in. But when it comes to the direction of the Democrat Party, it seems to be headed in one direction, really far left.
The most powerful part of the Democratic Party now is the progressive wing, which until a couple of weeks ago was the AOC Bernie wing. Now it's the AOC Bernie Mamdani wing.
Now remember their politics, all for free food apparently, but not when you really need it. Power Panel in Focus, Matt Gorman, Republican strategist and executive vice president of Targeted Victory. Jose Aristimuno, former DNC press secretary. Jose, as I come to you, 8 heroes is what we should call them, because I can't even imagine politically what this feels like. Now, some of them are retiring, and I have said before, maybe that takes, some sort of blame away from them, or maybe not. Your thoughts?
Look, Harris, what a beautiful thing when we come to the middle and we practice moderate
We didn't come
politics.
to the middle. You had 8 people reach an agreement, some of them retiring, that maybe starving Americans might be a better way to go, suffering Americans,
let me tell you,
than your own politics. Don't sugarcoat it.
Sure. Well, look, the reality is that when you put country first, we can move the country forward. We did it in Virginia. That's what we want. We did it in New Jersey. That's what we want. When my party comes to the middle and we talk to Republicans like regular human beings, we can do really, really well.
Why only 8?
I'm very happy. I applaud these 8 senators. Well, I am very happy these 8 Democrats have coming forward. Let's reopen our government. By the way, this does not mean that we should not be talking about the subsidies for Obamacare. I think that's important. And
that's
I think
been on the table for 2.5 weeks to do at the end of the CR.
I think we should reopen the government, and then we can talk about subsidies. But if we do not talk about subsidies for Obamacare, I think Republicans would do very, very bad come the midterm elections in 2026.
Matt.
No, look, I love how Democrats are taking a victory lap for finally accepting reality and accepting the deal that it's been on the table for weeks. Reopen the government without any preconditions, and we will talk about any other priorities that you want. Again, Democrats shut down the government for 40 days, ended up in the exact same place, but with egg on their face. Democrats caved, and what you're seeing is a lot of Democrats on the far left, because the far left hand didn't know what the left hand was doing in this whole process, are mad. And I think you're seeing the energy, the money from the left going to be really taken out if some of these senators are not retiring, or we're going to be seeing a lot of pressure on Democrats in the House as well. Remember, this shutdown was solely about placating their left-wing base, nothing more.
Jose, before we move on, I want to ask you this. Does this make it out of the House? Because I've been mentioning to viewers how many more steps we have. We've got to get through there next. Representative Lawler was with me earlier this hour. He seems to think so. But this is tough because the farthest left that you have in your party in numbers is in the House.
I agree, but I think if Republicans stick together and some of my moderate Democratic friends, I think we'll do just fine. I'm very optimistic, Harris. We'll get the government open.
I like your
Friday.
optimism. All right. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries sounds confident in his party's chances in the upcoming midterm elections. Watch his optimism.
Democrats are definitely going to take back control of the House of Representatives, and we're going to stay focused on the issues that matter: lowering the high cost of living, fixing our broken healthcare system, and cleaning up corruption to actually deliver a country that works for working class Americans, for everyday Americans, and for middle class Americans.
However, Jeffries may want to take a look a bit closer to home. He could face a midterm challenge from a far-left Gen Z New York City councilman. Jose is reportedly planning to take on Jeffries, even though Mayor-elect Mamdani has told him not to. I don't know. Are you listening to Mamdani? Just another example of a party divided. So, Matt, this is fascinating because Mamdani, of course, is still 50-plus days away from taking office. But he's already in the goo, if you will, of the next thing.
I got to love it. I think I might be a little cynical, but I think Mamdani may have given a wink and a nod. Don't do it. Don't challenge him. And you're seeing this also with Dan Goldman, another Democrat member of Congress, Brad Lander, far-left ally Mamdani's challenging him as well. And I just have to laugh at the hypocrisy of Hakeem Jeffries talking about working-class people when they were the ones, Democrats, that held SNAP funding up for 40 days, wouldn't let air traffic controllers or federal workers get paid. I mean, you're seeing all the chaos around airports across the country. Working people taking those flights to get where they need to go. They claim they're for the working people, yet they withheld the government, kept it closed for 41 days. It's the height of hypocrisy.
All right, Jose, you get the last word on this because you and I have talked about leaders that have those types of policies from where your family left.
That's exactly right, Harris. I think Mamdani looks more like Hugo Chavez than an American future mayor. I think, he's going to be mayor. It's not a big deal. I think he's a minority, and I think he's an exception to the rule of my party. I don't think the Democratic Party, majority of folks are like Mamdani. There are more people like me in the center. But I think we're the big tent party for a reason. So I think some of the challenges, Harris, that we're going to face coming into 2026 is how do we come together on messaging, on narrative, when we have different type of thoughts within our own party.
Well, former deputy at the DNC, you used to be in charge of that. They may have to hire you as a consultant. Good to see you both, Matt.
Might be a good idea.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.